Why, you may ask? Well, let me just tell you. I have a story to tell. Welcome back to my channel. This channel, my name is Martha and I live in California. I am a flight attendant and I have some stories to tell you today. So if you have not watched my channel before, I am a flight attendant and my channel is pretty much flight attendant content, my trips, my work trips, sometimes fun trips, and I'm going to try to put some more travel like tip information in coming soon. Right now I am at home and get to spend 3 weeks at home. And why, you may ask? Well, let me just tell you. I have a story to tell. And I have been alluding to something coming, something changing, but I didn't want to talk about it on a full-on, full-length video until it actually happened, until I knew all the details. So anyway, I live in California. I'm married. I have 3 kids, and the youngest is almost 19, as in about 5 days he'll be 19. And they are all going to school. My middle daughter just graduated. She's got a job here in Ventura. So we're just kind of plugging along, you know, doing that family life. But yeah, so anyway, let's go back. Let's reverse a little bit to when I started. Well, I started this YouTube channel years ago, more of just a way to make videos so that people could watch them, not as in like a channel, but just like for events, for family members. I did some fitness stuff, but I didn't go very far with that. So 2 years ago, about approximately, I started investigating becoming a flight attendant and finding out all the details and how you did that. And so I decided to start because I found other flight attendants that made YouTubes or made videos and had YouTube channels. I was kind of inspired, and it gave me an outlet to talk about what I was doing and to share and maybe help somebody else in their journey, whether it's to become a flight attendant or just some other dream that they may have. Because, you know, I'm not young, I'm 48 years old, and I have had a couple different careers that I kind of just happened upon organically. It wasn't anything that I really looked for. It was kind of right place at the right time type of careers, and I liked them both. I was a teacher for about 10-12 years, and then I was a fitness instructor coach for about 10 years. Loved both of the positions, but it just kind of organically changed. And so about 2 years ago, I was getting to the point where I felt like I needed a change. My kids were grown, and I didn't feel like I needed to be, you know, stable at the house all the time. And we really wanted to travel, but we realized after taking a trip to Ireland how expensive it was. So I was trying to figure out a way that I could have a job and travel and not break the bank. So that's when I started looking into becoming a flight attendant. So flashback to that was October, November. So I started investigating, started looking at what companies were hiring, and just started applying. I started applying to the ones that I knew. The first one that popped up when I was looking was Delta. I had no clue. I didn't know anything really about any of the airlines except their names, how big they were. I had no idea how hard it was to get into certain ones. And so I applied to Delta, and I applied to American, and I applied to Spirit. I don't know, whichever ones popped up first, those are the ones I just started applying. I started taking their assessments. A lot of them will send you a little assessment, and then a couple of them right out of the gate, because I had never taken one of those assessments before. I didn't really know like how that works. So if you are currently looking or getting ready to apply, because I know I'm pretty sure that Delta is going to be opening their applications probably in the next month, a month and a half. if you've never done an assessment before and you want some tips, and if you think I should make a video about tips for taking the assessments, let me know, because I definitely have some tips. And so anyway, so that kind of progressed, and I wasn't moving forward with any of these airlines, these bigger airlines. And so I started to, I don't even actually know how I came upon SkyWest, which is the regional that I work for. And I don't know, but I found it, and I actually had an interview with Alaska Airlines, and the interview with SkyWest was going to conflict. And so I was like, okay, well, obviously I'm going to pick the Alaska because that's a bigger airline, and I would prefer that because I didn't really know much about SkyWest. And then I went to Alaska Airlines. I got a no from Alaska, and then about 2 days later, there was another SkyWest Airlines open interview. SkyWest does just show up and they interview whoever's there. And so they were going to do that, and it was about a 3-hour drive from home. So I said, you know what, can't hurt to try. So I hopped in the car and I drove to Fresno and applied and did the little spiel, and I had an interview, and within 2 weeks they told me that I was hired. And if you are trying to become a flight attendant, it's a slow process, slow. Every airline, it just takes a long time to, I don't even know why, because they have to do a lot of background stuff and, make sure that you're good to go as far as traveling, taking care of the public on a giant aircraft. So anyway, I got hired, and never really looked back. I got hired. I got hired in January. My training date started March 7th. So that was 31 days. So I did a month of training with SkyWest and started flying officially on May 1st. Yeah, I had my initial operating experience on May 1st, and then was flying right out of the gate. I was based all over the place, based in Detroit, based in Houston, based in Dallas. And my current base was Dallas. So I've had a line, I've been on reserve, and I can tell you the woes. You can look back at my old videos. I have lots of stuff that I talked about, especially about being on reserve. I was for 6 months on reserve in Houston, which was not really that fun, to be honest, but I think it was more about proximity to my family and not being able to just get home quickly if I had a couple of days off. But anyway, so I went to Dallas, got based in Dallas. That was not too bad. I had a line there, and the flying was okay. It wasn't the best trips I've ever taken, but it was decent. I like Dallas a lot better than Houston. I don't know exactly why. I just think it has a little better vibe, but that's just my personal opinion. Honestly, I love California the most, so I am happy to be in California as much as possible because I live near the beach, and it's where my heart is. But anyway, so the news that I have about, I want to say in April, beginning of April, maybe end of March, beginning of April, I got an email from another airline that I had applied to in February. Now, if you recall, I must have gotten my job offer from SkyWest the end of February, because I wouldn't have applied somewhere else if I had already gotten a job offer. So I applied to this other airline sometime in February. It was actually the beginning of February. And I never heard from them. I just heard that, hey, we got your application, cool, whatever. So I basically just forgot about it. Like, I just didn't even think about it. Didn't remember doing it. But I got an email. I think it was the end of March this year. So think about that. I applied to this company in 2018, February of 2018. And then got an email asking me if I was still interested in March of 2019. So a little over a year later, they wanted to know if I was still interested. Well, at the time I had actually applied to American, because I was talking to a lot of American flight attendants. Being based out of Dallas, there's a lot of American flight attendants because that's their hub. That's like their main HQ. And they were encouraging me because applications were open. They were actively hiring at the time. So I was going through that process, and then I started learning a little bit more about, like, first of all, they revamped their first year. So all flight attendants are on solid reserve for first year. And then also they were basing pretty much all their new hires east, like Chicago, Charlotte, that way. And I just didn't feel right about it. I just was like, my goal is to get closer to home, and that is not, that's not achieving the goal. And I definitely didn't want to work out of Chicago. Just haven't had great experiences out of there. I mean, I know I will continue to fly out of there, but I didn't want to go to Charlotte, like, moving the wrong direction. So I pulled my application out and was just like, okay, whatever. I'm done. I'm SkyWest for life. And then I got this email, and they said, are you still interested? If so, fill out all this stuff and send it back within, like, I think it had to be back with like in 3 to 5 days. And so I was like, I don't know. Called my husband. What do we do? What should I do? And he's like, well, I mean, you should go forward with it. You just don't know. It could be nothing. And even if they say they want you, you don't have to take it. And I was like, okay, that's true. So, and that gave me time to investigate more about the company and, you know, would it be a good move? From what I had heard from many, many people, it was a great company, but I didn't know that, like, you know, I hadn't done any research really. So anyway, I'm rambling, sorry. So anyway, I sent back all the stuff, and almost immediately got an email saying we'd like to schedule you for a phone interview. It'll be such and such a date, and I think that was, when was that? End of April, I think. End of April, yeah. So anyway, I had a phone interview end of April. Best interview I've ever had. They make them short and sweet. It was, you know, about 15 minutes or less. The guy was very friendly, made me feel really comfortable, and he's like, yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't move forward. He said you'll hear in the next couple days. And it was true. I had that interview on a Thursday. On Monday, they called me and said, we'd like to invite you to a face-to-face interview on May 22nd. So, May 22nd? That sounds wrong. I think it's May 27th. Because it was right after my daughter's graduation. But anyway, so I was like, okay, well, and the crazy thing was, the interview is in Dallas. So I was like, okay, well, that's convenient because I'm working in Dallas, so I was home for the weekend. My daughter graduated that weekend, and I packed up all my stuff and flew out really early on that Monday morning for my interview. And it was such a great experience. Everyone I met was super nice. I loved the headquarters area. Just felt very comfortable. And leading up to this interview, I should say, I did do a lot of research about the company. There's several books written about this company. It's a very, very popular airline in the US. They do not fly international except for like Mexico, Caribbean. They just recently started flying to Hawaii, so you probably know who it is, but I'm not going to say it. But anyway, so I went to this interview, and I was the last person interviewed. There were 6 of us. I was the last one interviewed. And I just, like, I can't tell you, like, well, I can't tell you. I'm going to tell you. This was literally the best experience I've ever had having an interview. I didn't feel nervous. I didn't feel scared. I think that I felt like, okay, I'm already a flight attendant. I already love the job. So basically this would just be upping my game. Oh, and I forgot to tell you the best part. I forgot, when they did the phone interview, he said, hey, we're sending all of our new hire flight attendants to Oakland out of training. How do you feel about that? And I was so excited to hear that they're basing people in California to start, because I know it's not home, and I mean, there's nothing that's like closer than LAX or Burbank. Well, Burbank's not a base, but LAX is. But I was just thinking, what? I could be based in Oakland and just have like a 45-hour flight home. It was like magic. And I told him when he asked me that, I said, I feel amazing about that. I live in California and I've been wanting to be based in California since I started this job, but it just hasn't worked out. So, yes. So anyway, so then when I left the interview, I felt like a lot of interviews after I leave, I just feel drained, exhausted, just like, I almost feel sick. Like I've done a couple interviews, but afterwards I just feel sick. Like I feel like my body's just like, I've all the adrenaline, like what, and then it just drains, and then I don't feel good. But I did not feel this way. I felt so good. I felt so excited, and it took only, let's see, to hear back from them. Let's see, that was me. It took a little bit, not too long. I think it was about a week, if that. Maybe 4 days. They called me and I got the job offer. And I was starting to feel a little nervous that it wasn't going to happen because I wasn't hearing. And I was actually working a trip, and we were getting ready to board. Like we were like super close to board, and my phone was sitting like right on the side, and it started ringing, and I was like, and it said Dallas, and I was like, oh my god, I'm like, I have to answer this. So I went in the lavatory and I answered the phone and got my job offer. So anyway, so yeah, they offered me the job, and that was on, what day was that? I don't remember. Anyway, so it took them about, after that, you know, I had to do all like the background check. I had to do like the drug testing and all that, send them all my jobs, you know, that I've had for the last 5 years. And they're very thorough. They called all the people that I've worked for, and they sent me my my training date last week, a week ago on the 8th, right? It's already been a week? Yeah. A week ago on the 8th, which was what I was hoping for. I had one more trip and 3 reserve days because somehow I ended up with a composite line, which means I have a little bit of trips and a little bit of reserve. And so they sent it to me on the 8th, which was perfect for me to give my 2 weeks, and then I would not have to work that last trip or the reserve days, which probably would have been good for me to work the last trip at least. But that was going to take me like right up until training, and I really wanted to have some time at home to relax and kind of, you know, prep. And with this airline, you have to memorize some things before you get there, so I just wanted to be prepared. But anyway, so my training date is coming up on August 5th, and I'm going back to Dallas for training. It is a 1-month-long training, so 4 weeks. This airline only flies 1 aircraft, so that should be cool. And I am just super excited. I'll be based in Oakland. And the cool thing is, the way they do their new hires, your first month is a line, just so they can make sure they have you working and, you know, getting the hang of it. And then the next 5 months are reserve. And then after that, you are, oh, goodness, where did that come from? The next 5 months are reserve, and then after that is a rotating reserve. So I guess it's like the bottom 65%, 55%? I forget. I think it's 65, 35? 70? I don't know. 65, right? Yeah, so 65, 35. So the bottom 65 rotate reserve, and then once you're in the top percentage, then you don't have to be on reserve anymore. So I don't know exactly how that all pans out, but I do know that I'll be close to home. They schedule They schedule you 3 on 4 off. You can obviously change that and move it around if you need to, and you can find people to help you. But there are just so many more reasons to work for this company. And like I said, I had decided that I would stay with SkyWest, and you know, because I didn't want to, like, once my seniority started I started really getting seniority, I didn't want it to, you know, I didn't want to go somewhere and start over, but I felt like at this point, like, it was okay. Like, I hadn't gained that much seniority. I mean, I actually, in Dallas, I was losing seniority because they kept putting senior people in, which is why I ended up with a partial reserve line. So anyway, so that's my story, and I'm super excited. I will be starting with my new airline in about 2.5 weeks. We have training. We have 4 weeks of training, and then September I will start flying with them. So look for me if you fly this airline, which I know you know what I'm talking about, and say hi if you see me out there, because that would be super exciting. And yeah, so that's all I wanted to tell you guys today on this video. I will be coming back soon with more videos. I want to do a couple get to know me videos, and then I also want to do some travel tips I've been working on. So that's all, and I hope you guys are having a great summer, and see you soon. Bye.